The cold was a living thing. Not the kind you shake off, but the kind that hunts you. Slow, patient, merciless. Up in the high country, a mountain man didn't have the luxury of modern gear. Puffy jackets, down quilts, or titanium anything. He had a hat, a coat, a knife, and whatever the land was willing to give. And yet, through endless nights of snow, silence, and wind sharp enough to skin a buffalo, these men survived. Not because they were tougher than the cold, but because they understood a simple truth nature never bothered to hide. A truth that still outperforms a whole backpack full of high-tech equipment today. A forgotten frontier method that decided whether you froze by morning or lived to see another sunrise. Long before maps had names for ridgelines and valleys, the mountain man walked them. From the Bitter Roots to the Tetons, from the Rockies to the wind-scored plains, he traveled alone, slept alone, and fought the elements alone. Winters weren't inconvenient. They were deadly. Nights hit -20, -30, even -40 degrees. Snow piled high enough to swallow a horse. Frostbite wasn't a possibility. It was a guarantee if you made one mistake. Out here, steel froze, leather stiffened, and breath turned to ice crystals in your beard. And yet somehow, the mountain man endured. So how did he do it? How did a man with no sleeping bag, no insulated pad, and no ultralight gear survive a winter night that would send most modern campers home before sunset? He didn't rely on equipment. He relied on craft. And one method, passed quietly from trapper to trapper, saved more lives than any coat or blanket ever could. The ground bed. Here's something the old-timers understood better than most folks today. The ground doesn't care about you, but it will take your heat every time. Lie on frozen soil, and it becomes a thief, pulling the warmth right out of your bones, faster than the wind ever could. The mountain man learned early, it ain't the cold air that kills you. It's the cold ground beneath you. So instead of piling on more blankets, he built his insulation from the earth itself. He'd clear the snow down to the dirt, or pack it tight until it formed a hard base. Then came the real trick. Thick layers of spruce boughs, pine needles, bark, grass, or whatever he could gather before his fingers stopped listening. He stacked it deep, about the width of his hand, and let the trapped air do the work. On top of that, he'd throw his robe, his furs, or simply his coat, curl up beside the fire, and let nature fight against itself. Because the old mountain man had no illusions. He knew comfort was a luxury. Warmth was survival. No one perfected this more than the trappers of the northern Rockies. Facing temperatures that froze whiskey solid, they learned to sleep on beds of evergreen boughs, so thick they felt like feather mattresses. They'd replace them nightly, always keeping a dry layer beneath. It looked primitive. It was primitive, but it worked. Night after brutal night. Now here's where the mountain man was smarter than most modern campers. Sleeping bags? He knew they were useless without insulation underneath. Wool blankets? Too heavy. Furs? They're warm, but still need a barrier below. Physics didn't care. Heat moves from warm to cold. Bottom line, you lose more heat to the ground than to the air. And the mountain man, with nothing but instinct, experience, and desperation, figured it out long before science said the same. He built with what he had. Bark became mattresses, logs became platforms, grass became layered insulation. Snow, when packed tight, became a foundation. The air trapped between these layers acted like a natural sleeping pad, a frontier version of an inflatable mat. Not comfortable, not cushy, but efficient. And when the mercury dropped, efficiency meant life. Even today, this old mountain man trick can save your life. Here's the process they lived by. Clear or pack the snow. Never sleep directly on it. Build a base. Logs, branches, bark, anything to lift you off the frozen ground. Add insulation. Spruce boughs, pine needles, dry grass, straw. Layer it deep, hand thick at minimal. Keep your top layers dry. Moisture is a killer, always. Sleep close if you're with others. Shared warmth was the frontier version of a temperature rating. Sometimes it was the only reason a man woke up at all. And this wasn't just winter wisdom. In swamps, raised beds kept trappers out of the water. In deserts, the same layering insulated them from scorching nighttime sand. In forests, it kept dampness from leaching the heat from their bodies. Whether in snow, mud, or dust, the principle was the same. Control the ground, or the ground will control you. The mountain man knew something modern folks often forget. Technology changes. Nature doesn't. The same physics that governed the wild in the 1800s still governs it today. And the old-timers, with their grit, their instinct, and their refusal to die easy, mastered the laws of heat, cold, and survival better than most of us ever will. So the next time someone insists that comfort gear is the only way to survive a cold night, remember the men who camped through blizzards with nothing but pine branches, a wool coat, and a stubborn refusal to freeze. They didn't have modern equipment. They didn't have synthetic insulation. They didn't have ultralight pads or -20 quilts. But what they did have was knowledge. Knowledge that still works. Knowledge that still matters. Knowledge that keeps them alive in the harshest era of the American wilderness. If this story gave you a new appreciation for the raw frontier skills of the mountain men, make sure you subscribe and share this video with someone who loves real wilderness wisdom, not gimmicks. Because sometimes the smartest survival tools are the ones history forgot.